Ciao a tutti e benvenuti a Inglese con Amore. Mi chiamo Nancy e sono la vostra English coach. Ogni settimana preparo mini lezioni culturali semplici per aiutarvi a esercitare l'orecchio e migliorare le vostre abilità di ascolto in inglese. Ascoltare è importante. Quando ascoltate bene, anche la vostra capacità di parlare e di capire migliora. Le mie attività sono brevi, così potete inserirle facilmente nella vostra vita quotidiana. Ricordate, la costanza è fondamentale, ma anche la dedizione. L'inglese non arriverà da solo. Dovete impegnarvi. Lo so per esperienza perché ho fatto lo stesso quando ho imparato l'italiano e sono qui per aiutarvi a seguire quel percorso. E piano piano, con calma, ci arriverete. Quindi siate pazienti e abbiate fiducia nel vostro percorso di apprendimento dell'inglese qui con me. In queste lezioni non imparerete solo l'inglese, ma scoprirete oppure riscoprirete anche molte cose interessanti sull'Italia, il paese in cui orgogliosamente vivo anch'io. Prima di iniziare la lezione di oggi, posso chiedervi un piccolo favore. Iscrivetevi al mio canale, così riceverete una notifica ogni volta che pubblico un nuovo episodio. Il vostro supporto mi aiuta a creare più lezioni per voi. E se vi piace questa lezione, non dimenticare di mettere mi piace a questo video e lasciare un commento qui sotto. Se state guardando su YouTube, attivate anche i sottotitoli così potete leggere mentre ascoltate. E non preoccupatevi se non capite ogni parola, cercate di ascoltare la pronuncia e l'intonazione delle parole e di capire quello che potete. Col tempo capirete sempre di più. Oggi voglio portarvi in viaggio con me per scoprire un modo speciale di coltivare le uve per fare il vino qui in Italia. È qualcosa che ho scoperto solo recentemente e quindi ho preparato questo episodio per condividerlo con voi oggi. Siete pronti a scoprire i modi estremi di coltivare le uve? Allora venite con me in viaggio nelle regioni montuose dell'Italia. 2 weeks ago, I went on a trip to the Aosta Valley in the northwest of Italy. Looking up at the mountains, I noticed rows and rows of large steps climbing up the slopes. From where I was standing, I couldn't figure out what they were. Figure out è un phrasal verb che significa capire. In questo caso, I couldn't figure out vuol dire non riuscivo a capire. I couldn't figure out what they were, so I asked, what are those steps high up in the mountains that I can see? And I was told they were vineyards. Vineyards sono I vigneti. The vineyards were growing right on the mountain. A vineyard is simply a place where grapevines are grown. Grapevines sono le viti. They are the plants that produce grapes, which are later used to make wine. Grapes sono l'uva. Grapes to make wine sono l'uva per fare il vino. From below, the mountain looked like it was covered in rows of steps, one on top of the other. These steps looked like terraces. Steps significa gradini, che assomigliavano alle terrazze. Some terraces were so steep that it was impossible to walk up normally. Steep significa ripide. You would need ropes or ladders to go up. Ropes or ladders significa corde o scale. Sometimes workers even needed safety belts, cinture di sicurezze, like mountain climbers to move between the rows. Mountain climbers sono gli scalatori di montagna. Coming from Australia, where we don't have such high mountains and certainly not vineyards clinging to mountain tops, this was completely new and fascinating for me. Since I only learned about this incredible method, I wanted to share it with you today. So let's learn English together and discover this very unique and ancient technique called heroic viticulture. Viticoltura Eroica. Heroic viticulture, also called extreme viticulture, Viticoltura Estrema, is the cultivation of grapes in very difficult places. It requires a lot of human effort and special techniques to manage the hard conditions. It is called heroic viticulture because the grapes are grown in extreme locations, like high in the mountains, on windy islands with volcanic soil, terreno volcanico, and even on the slopes of active volcanoes, vulcani attivi. Yes, you heard me correctly, even on active volcanoes. The word heroic also describes the courage, il coraggio, the skill, l'abilità, and the physical strength, la forza fisica, of the farmers who work in these harsh and steep locations. Harsh and steep locations significa luoghi difficili o rigidi e ripidi. Machines cannot be used on these terraces, so every task must be done by hand. Planting, piantare, means putting a new vine, un nuovo vite, in the ground. Pruning, potare, means cutting branches so the plants grow well. And harvesting, vendemmiare, means collecting the grapes when they are ready. Sometimes farmers even use ropes, corde, harnesses, imbracature, or safety belts, cinture di sicurezze, just like mountain climbers, scalatori di montagna. They use all this equipment to prevent falls. Heavy machines cannot be used because the terraces are too fragile, fragili, and narrow, strette. Fragile means it's easy to break, facile da rompere. So heroic vineyards are not cultivated the usual way you see on flat land or gentle hills. They are grown in extreme places. Extreme means very difficult or unusual compared to normal conditions. To be considered a true heroic vineyard, the place must meet at least one of a few special conditions. For example, some vineyards are planted on very steep slopes, pendii ripidi, with more than a 30% incline. Incline means slope or steepness, pendenza. Other vineyards are found at very high altitudes, more than 500 meters above sea level. Altitude means height above sea level, altezza sopra il livello del mare. In some regions, the vines grow on terraces which are steps carved directly into the mountain. In Italian, these steps are called gradoni. There are also vineyards on small islands where farmers face strong winds, venti forti, and must work with volcanic soil, terreno volcanico. Finally, many heroic vineyards are in places that are hard to reach, difficile da raggiungere, and impossible to work with machines. This means that every single task must be done by hand. So when we say heroic, it is not just a beautiful name. It's because farmers truly work in extreme conditions where every single grape takes effort, impegno, courage, coraggio, and care, cura. This kind of winemaking is ancient, antico. People began cultivating grapes on mountains and volcanoes thousands of years ago, long before modern technology. Cultivating means coltivare. They had no tractors, no machines, only their hands, simple tools, and courage. Tools sono gli attrezzi. Cultivating means growing or farming something with care. Coltivare con attenzione. Even today, the work remains almost the same as it was thousands of years ago. Let's imagine the seasons of a heroic vineyard. In spring, in primavera, farmers plant and prune the vines. In summer, in estate, they maintain the terraces and protect the plants from pests. A pest is a small animal or insect that damages plants. In autumn, in autunno, usually around September or October, it is time for the grape harvest, la raccolta dell'uva. This season is called the vendemmia in Italian. All of this is done by hand. Grapes are carried in baskets down steep, narrow paths. I baskets sono I cesti, and steep, narrow paths sono sentieri stretti e ripidi. Sometimes workers use small cable cars to transport the baskets, but often it is pure muscle work. Cable cars sono le funevie o le teleferiche. And muscle work means the power of your body, la forza fisica. Italy is the leader in heroic viticulture, and there are several main regions where this type of winemaking exists. Let's look at 5 of the most famous heroic hotspots, I luoghi principali della Viticoltura Eroica. Number 1. The Aosta Valley, Valle d'Aosta, in the northwest of Italy, surrounded by the Alps. This valley is home to Monte Bianco, Mont Blanc, the highest mountain in the Alps. Vineyards here can reach up to 1,200 meters altitude, some of the highest in all of Europe. Number 2. Valtellina in Lombardy, in the north of Italy. The slopes are very steep, I pendii sono molto ripidi, and the terraces are famous for growing the Nebbiolo grape. Number 3. The Cinque Terre in Liguria, in the northwest of Italy, where terraces rise dramatically from the cliffs right above the sea. Cliffs sono le scogliere. Number 4. The island of Pantelleria in Sicily, in the south of Italy, where farmers grow Zibibbo grapes on windy volcanic soil. Volcanic soil significa terreno vulcanica. And number 5, the volcanoes of Sicily and Campania. 2 of the most heroic examples are Mount Etna in Sicily and Mount Vesuvius in Campania. Mount Etna is an active volcano, un vulcano attivo, with vineyards grown on its black lava slopes. Mount Vesuvius is considered one of the world's most dangerous active volcanoes, yet its nutrient-rich slopes produce the famous Lacrima Christi wine, meaning tears of Christ. Similar heroic vineyards exist in other parts of Europe like Switzerland and France, but outside Europe they are very rare because most countries have gentle hills or flat land where machines can do the work. Flat land significa terreni pianeggianti. That is why Italy is truly the heart of heroic viticulture. It has the highest concentration and diversity of these extreme regions, spanning mountains, cliffs, and volcanoes. The tradition is so serious and so deep-rooted, radicata, that Italy has been a pioneer, pioniere, in creating national legislation to formally recognize and safeguard these vineyards. Safeguard significa proteggere. Furthermore, Italy is home to the international organization CERVIM, which exists to protect and promote heroic viticulture globally, confirming Italy's central role in this unique form of farming. Now let's talk about the wine that comes from these places. The wines from heroic vineyards are incredibly special. I vini dalle vigne eroiche sono incredibilmente speciali. The high altitude and rocky soil give the grapes unique flavors. Rocky soil significa terreno roccioso. The cooler temperatures in the mountains help the grapes keep freshness and acidity. Acidity means a sharp, fresh taste, like a lemon. Because the work is so hard, and because production is so limited, these wines are often rare and expensive. Rare significa raro. Expensive means they cost a lot of money, sono molto costosi. You can expect bottles of wine from heroic vineyards to cost anywhere from €20 to over €150 per bottle, depending on the region and how long it has been aged. Aged significa invecchiato. The cost of these wines reflects the human labor, lavoro umano, the rarity, la rarità, and the uniqueness of the land where they are produced. We can finish today's lesson by noticing that heroic vineyards are not just about wine. They are about persistence, perseveranza, patience, pazienza, and courage, coraggio. They show us that even in extreme conditions, humans can still create something beautiful and unique. This is also true for learning English. Sometimes it feels like climbing a mountain, doesn't it? The path is steep and you cannot take shortcuts. Shortcuts significa scorciatoie. Allora non si può prendere le scorciatoie. But step by step, word by word, you will get there. Just like the heroic farmers, with dedication, patience, and consistency, we too can create something special and meaningful in our own lives. So the next time you enjoy a glass of wine, maybe you will think about the heroic farmers on their terraces, working hard in the sun, the wind, and even on active volcanoes. And maybe you will also think about your own English learning journey, slow and steady, but full of reward. Reward significa ricompensa. Thank you for joining me here today on Inglese con Amore. If you enjoyed this episode, please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video with someone who wants to improve their English listening skills. I will see you in the next episode, and until then, my friends, I send you all my love.